When I put my list together of the 7 riders you'll meet at bike night, I saw a handful of people saying that bike nights are pointless and that they'd rather go out for a ride. Well, lucky you meet an entirely different crop of people when you go out for group rides. Sure, you might see some of the same faces, but this is where the figurative rubber meets the literal road, and you can see if all the posturing and big talk actually means anything when you actually can test if the 600 bros' claims of hitting 186 miles an hour on the highway are actually true. Note, YamiNoob does not recommend testing whether or not modern 600s can hit 186 miles an hour on the highway because it's very unsafe and physically impossible in the dimension we live in, Narnia, the galaxy far, far away, and all other fictional universes. Group rides are a place where Yam and I don't necessarily see eye to eye. He's gone on record saying that they're not the best place to learn as a noob, and I spent most of my formative seat time on a bike riding with others and really have come to enjoy it. But there are a very different set of rules that you need to be aware of, and some people you should be listening to, others you really shouldn't, and some of them you should be avoid touching with a 10-foot pole. And today we're going to break down the 7 most common characters that you'll meet at a group ride. And just for funsies, I'm going to tell you exactly where they are in the pack so you know who to look for and where to look. And since we're doing a whole video on group rides, it would be remiss of me not to mention a brand new feature on YamiNoob.co, our group ride map. We literally just finished implementing it in the last few weeks, and it allows members to post up where they are and find fellow Yam fans to ride with. Here's how it works. When you sign up, you can opt in and provide your Discord name, what bike you ride, and where you want to meet up, and schedule rides with any other member or members that you'd like. We've got tons of different riders from all around the US and even worldwide. So don't worry if you're a Euroboy languishing in the 9.5 horsepower hellscape of the A1 licensing system. There's always someone to ride with. We're even planning on using this feature to host some YamiNoob meetups in 2021, fingers crossed. So if you want to join in on those, you'll be able to see when and where on the map. Not only that, but you'll get access to the Discord to talk to all these different riders in real time, and you can win some free bikes too. It's the whole package. Click the link down below and get started. Now, the first person you're going to meet at a group ride is the leader. Unless you're riding with a couple of your buddies, chances are you're going to be using some app like Meetup or a rider-specific one, and you're probably going to know this person's name and have a tiny 50 by 50 pixel image of their face or their bike, but that doesn't matter. They're usually the first person at the meetup spot, and they're always going to wave you over. They're essentially the shepherd guiding squids to curvy roads and grand vistas like Mir and the Jixer squids out there. When you pull up, chances are they're on some weird bike like a dual sport or a custom bike that doesn't look very fast, but in the description for the ride, they said that the pace would be spirited. The leader knows the roads like the back of their hand and can tell you exactly where the tough spots are by mile. While the leader's very laid back, they take everyone's safety very seriously, explaining the rules for the ride before kickstands are up, even if it's been the same group of bikes for the last month. When you're on the road, you might have 50 more horsepower, but for some reason you just can't keep up in the twisties. That's okay though, because the sign of a good group leader is that they'll stop at every major intersection to make sure the group is all together. Obviously, they ride up front, since usually they're the only person who knows where they're going. Next up, you have the sweep. This is the guy who's been riding forever and just wants to chill out and enjoy the view, and he tends to ride on a big cruiser or sport touring bike, something comfy to spend all day in the saddle on. He's essentially the leader's final form. After spending years in the saddle on road, off-road, on track, wherever 2 wheels can be found, he's been there, and he's realized what all riders eventually realize, that bikes are just for fun, and a chill and relaxed pace is more enjoyable at the end of the day than trying to be the first one at the lunch stop. Also, for all the leaders talk about safety and rules and riding your own ride, the sweep is going to be the one that helps you pick up your bike if you drop it. You see, the job of a sweep is to communicate with the leader that everyone is accounted for when they come to a stop. They also help block traffic if the line of bikes is super duper long. Normally, the sweep's job is pretty boring and he's just there to hang out and have a good time. He's always at the back of the group, but don't let that fool you. He's faster on a Suzuki C50T than you will be on your brand new leader bike, and the fact that he never rubs it in is all the more infuriating. He's usually the most consistent member of the group too. No matter who's leading, no matter where they're going, and usually no matter the weather, he'll be there because he just likes going on the bike that much. Don't be surprised if you're riding and the sweep passes you, because if someone passes a signal to stop back, the sweep needs to tell the leader. Number 3, we have the stunt guy. This person comes in two varieties. We'll call the first one the frustrated stunt guy. This version is the person who speeds, skids the rear tire around, does massive burnouts at stoplights, but mysteriously you never see him doing a wheelie. He also talks a real big game about how much torque he's putting down, his new sprocket setup, and how his new ECU flash is in the mail. But if you take a closer look at his motorcycle, it's just got a slip-on, he's sporting the stock tooth count, and that flash must be lost in the mail because it never seems to show up. The second variety we'll call the monogamous stunter. All he does is wheelies. Peeling away from every single stop sign, pops a wheelie. Is the road straight for more than 100 feet? Wheelie. In the middle of a 180-degree hairpin turn? Wheelie. You're never quite sure how he manages to control the motorcycle so well without putting the front wheel down, or how he never manages to loop the bike, but what you do know is that his throttle control must be absolutely god tier to float the front end for so long. Regardless of which stunt guy ends up in the ride, he's always 5 minutes late, usually only wearing a helmet and gloves, and always asks if someone has a toolkit on them because something on their bike is always falling off. They're usually third in line behind the leader, so they can have a little bit more room to engage in their tomfoolery. If you find yourself behind this guy, expect him to slow down randomly from time to time so that he can get into optimal wheelie position. Just a warning though, he's never going to use his brakes. Number 4 is the noob. This is a guy fresh out of the MSF course and looking to meet some fellow riders and see some different roads. They're always shy the first time they show up and usually just hanging out by their bike hoping someone else will come up and break the ice for them, but unfortunately no one really cares about the little Ninja 250. It's not that the rest of the group doesn't like the noob, it's just that there's not much to say about another small displacement sport bike. The noob usually has some preconceived notions of what riding in a group is all about from having seen movies and watching motorcycle cops roll past side by side, but that's not actually what you're supposed to do. If you're a noob out there and you're thinking about going into a group ride, let me impart a little knowledge on you so you can blend just a little bit better. In most group rides, you're meant to ride staggered with about a car's length between you and the bike in front. That means you're on the opposite side of the lane from the rider in front of you. This helps everyone stay safe in case someone runs a little wide in a turn or has to stop suddenly. Secondly, pass all hand signals back regardless of if it's a speed up sign or if I need to take a bathroom break sign. Here's a quick little handy dandy picture of the most commonly used signs for your studying pleasure. Pause the video real quick. The noob is usually put in the back of the pack, typically right in front of the sweep or one bike up. If you're a noob and get told to ride in the back, it's not an insult, they just want to make sure you're by someone who's very experienced. Number 5 is the guy with something to prove. This guy always is in his late 20s or early 30s and shows up on a brand new showroom shiny leader bike, hyper naked, or some other land speed weapon. Maybe he was a noob that was stuck in the back of the pack one too many times, or maybe his dad didn't love him enough when he was a kid, or maybe he has some other complex he's overcompensating for, but like clockwork, he's the second guy to show up at the meeting place, he's the most eager to get on the road, and every time the group gets on the highway, he does a massive pull, passing everyone and letting the world know that being a street squid knows no creed nor color. His rear tire is always completely squared off with chicken strips so thick you can see him from outer space. You see, the only thing that scares the guy with something to prove more than not being noticed by everyone in the group is the small chance that he might encounter a gravel patch somewhere mid-corner and drop his extremely expensive bike that has him buried deeper in debt than the bride in the pine box in Kill Bill Volume 2. This guy's always second in line right after the leader, and he never stays to hang out after the ride. Number 6 is the high-tech ADV guy. There's always someone on a modern spec'd out ADV bike at every group ride. He's usually always wearing a big old high-vis banana suit, and he's got more gadgets in his panniers than Batman has on his utility belt. Regardless of whether you need a tire plug mid-ride, to replace a chain on the side of the road, or build an extra motorcycle, there's always just what you need buried somewhere in those saddlebags. I'm not sure why someone would need to go through the effort of packing all that crap into their bike for just a Sunday cruise, but I've been on multiple group rides where someone on a big FJR looking bike has exactly what the group needs to get back on the road. This person is always in the back with the sweep and the noob as far away as he can get from the stunter and the guy with something to prove. The weird thing about this person is it's rarely the same one twice. They'll join the group for one ride and decide it's not for them, and then the next week there'll be a completely different ADV dad ready to take their place. It's uncanny. Number 7, and the one who annoys me the most, most out of all of the other riders that I have met is the guy who shows up to the group ride, says that he's ready to head out, and then 5 minutes down the road signals that he needs to stop for gas. Yep, that is a long one, but there's always one. You can put it in bold and italics on the group ride post that you need to show up with a full tank, and somehow he will manage to go from full to empty in the time it takes you to get from the coffee shop you met at to the highway. Who knows? Maybe they have a gas leak. Maybe they're riding on the Yami Noob Corporate Hayabusa. Or maybe they're just a bonehead that can't seem to remember to stop at a gas station on their way over. From personal experience, the best way to make sure that this dingus doesn't hold up the entire group ride is to put the meetup spot within 60 seconds of a gas station. Or better yet, just meet up at a gas station. That way, when inevitably he signals that he needs gas 5 minutes after you leave, you can have your faith in humanity absolutely shattered before your eyes. Fact, there's no such thing as pear cider. Ciders are alcoholic beverages fermented from apples and apples only. An alcoholic drink made from pears is actually called a perry, because I guess all the cool names for drinks were already used up. Goodbye.
Bummer for you, my little squid. This video is actually over, but lucky for you, there's plenty of other Yami Noob videos you can check out right over here. What's gonna happen in them? I don't know. I haven't seen them, but you can watch them right now.